Hello, welcome to spooky season, and welcome back to another season of New Orleans, the Paranormal New Orleans podcast, where we tell tales of the strange, the spooky, the scary, the otherworldly, and the unexplained from across the greater New Orleans area, Louisiana, and beyond. I'm your hostess, Fat Girl Freestyle, and we talk about all things that go bump in the night. And we also talk about the things that bump back. This is season 3, episode 1 of New Orleans. So please sit back, relax if you can, and enjoy this spooky little tale. You ever heard of a Sundown Town? If you don't know what that is, I'm going to tell you. Sundown Town is a place where if you are black, you don't want to find yourself there when the sun goes down. Hell, some of them are so bad, you don't even want to find yourself there when the sun is up if you're black. This is a very special tale about one particular sundown town in Georgia that had a reputation for making black folks disappear. There was never any investigations done. Local sheriff, police, everybody was in cahoots to cover it up. You know, people say that once things are dead, they stay dead. But I'm here to tell you that ain't true. Sometimes the dead come back, and rightfully so. This happened around about 1992. I was a teenager back then. I dropped out of high school and I was hanging around with my dad, my uncles. They were mechanics. So we used to fix on a lot of the farm equipment in the area. There's this diner we used to go to all the time called Patty's. We go there for lunch, sometimes breakfast. Popular place, but it was one of the few businesses in the town. Town wasn't very big. Anyway, this town where I grew up was a notorious Sundown Town. While I didn't agree with it, I was just a kid. I couldn't object much. I just kind of went along with the hatred, even though I never felt it in my heart. Honestly, that's the thing that saved me. I don't know if you're going to believe what I'm finna tell you. And at this point, it really don't matter. I just want to say it and get it out of my head. I wouldn't believe it myself if someone had told it to me, but I lived it, seen it, burned into my memory, changed the course of my life forever. One day we are having lunch at Patty's and sheriff comes in, greets everybody like normal, sits down at the counter, starts talking to the owner of Patty's, a man everybody used to call Poe. Him and Poe got to talking, laughing about something. I watched the sheriff get real animated, like he was mocking a cartoon character or something. One of the other patrons asked him a question. Sheriff turns around and says, "Yeah, we had us a good old time the other night. Still thinking about it. Can't wait for it to happen again." They all just kind of fall into this fit of laughter. I didn't need any details to know what they were talking about. I'd seen the young black man a couple of days before roll into town in his truck. He obviously had a delivery to make somewhere, probably got lost, took the wrong exit off the highway, and ended up in my town, unfortunately. He never left. His truck ended up behind Bo McIntyre's barn, like so many other vehicles of people who came to the town but never left. Sitting there watching them, listening to them turn this man's murder into a joke stabbed me into the depths of my soul. And I remember making a promise to myself right then and there that as soon as I could, I was going to get the hell away from that place. And then the little bell jingled at the door. And everybody got real quiet. Turned and looked. And there at the door was the most stunning black woman I'd ever seen in my life. Which at that point, she's the only black woman I'd ever seen. But still to this day, I've never seen one with a beauty that compared to hers. Skin was so dark, like the moon against the sky at night when there's no stars. Kind of glowed, was smooth. I wasn't close to her, but I just knew her skin was as smooth as the finest silk. She had her hair pulled back, real nice and neat. Not a hair was out of place. She had on this bright red lipstick, nail polish to match. She wasn't dressed for the times, though her outfit was more maybe from the 70s. I didn't think nothing of it. She was kind of older, and I figured that was just her style. In spite of all the shocked white faces looking at her, she smiled. She walked on straight to that counter and took a seat. She asked for a cup of coffee. I remember Poe looking at her. And he yelled to Patty. Patty, give her a cup of coffee and make sure that's all she gets. Patty walks up, pours her a cup of coffee, and lets her know that once she finishes, she needs to leave. That beautiful black woman just smiled, nodded her head, picked up her cup of coffee and took a sip. I was mesmerized by her beauty, and she had an energy that filled the entire restaurant. You could feel it. It was what they call magnetic. Everybody else was staring at her because, of course, she was black. They were trying to figure out what the hell she was doing there. And then she said, I'm looking to speak to the sheriff. The sweetest voice. So sweet it made my ears start tingling. And I got a little smirk on my face, but I had to hurry up and wipe it off because I didn't want anybody to see. I was simply fascinated by this woman. The sheriff speaks up, asks her what she wants. And she says a name. Thomas Eugene Crawford. Thomas Eugene Crawford. Sheriff says, I don't know who the hell that is. She picked up her cup, took another sip of coffee. And she looked at him and smiled, and she says, you know exactly who Thomas Eugene Crawford is, because his blood is on your hands. And she pointed to Poe. And his blood is on your hands. And she got up from the counter. She walked over to another table and she pointed to the two men sitting there. And she said, and his blood is on your hands as well. She stopped at a few more tables and then she made her way on over to my daddy and my uncle. She looked at them and she says, and his blood is most definitely on your hands as well. Everybody was stunned into silence. And I'm just looking at her because I'm still just so mesmerized. There was something so different about her, but in an odd kind of way. And she smiled at me. And she said, you're different. You're not like the rest of them. And she walked back to the counter. Now, at this point, I'm wondering what is going on because this is a very strange encounter. Sheriff stands up and he's getting mad now. He looks at her and he says, your kind ain't welcome here. I done told you we don't know no Thomas whatever. Now you got to go on and get. Sun will be going down soon. And you don't want to be caught here after the sun goes down. You wouldn't believe what she did. I'm almost in disbelief myself, but she laughed. And I mean a hearty, deep down to her soul laugh. I can still hear it in my head right to this day. when she laughed, I guarantee you every person in that room's blood ran cold. I know mine did. And my mouth instantly dried up. She looked at the sheriff, and then she looked around the room. And she said, "You are going to be the one worrying about what happens when the sun goes down. I'm going to be just fine." And she turned, started to walk towards the door. She looked towards me, and she said, "You make sure you don't come out of your house tonight, darling. You stay inside, and you'll be safe." And out the door she went. And I'm telling you, everybody just sat there staring behind her for a good 5 minutes before anybody moved or said anything. And immediately, they started getting a plan of action together, trying to find out where she would be. They didn't have to wait long for that answer because Bo ended up calling down to the diner a few minutes later, saying there was some strange black woman nosing around out behind his barn. Well, I knew then what the plan of action was going to be, and I felt sad, but only for a moment because for some reason I knew she was going to be just fine. My daddy told me to hurry up, get myself together, paid the bill, gave him a sheriff pass a few words, and off we went. Finished our work for the day. My mind kept drifting to that woman. That's all they kept talking about while we worked, was what they were going to do to her. Make sure she disappeared. Couldn't couldn't help myself, but I was hoping that she would be all right. Started getting dark. I made it home. I remember her words, stay inside and I'd be just fine. I was curious. I wanted to know what was going to happen. I had a feeling it was going to be something big. I listened to my daddy on the phone, talking to this one, that one all evening long, talking about where they were going to meet. We're going to go meet on Bo's property. I decided I was going to go and sneak and see what was going to happen. Kind of wish I hadn't done that, but then I wouldn't be able to tell you the story. As soon as it got dark enough, a bunch of the men in the town, my daddy and the sheriff included, and a couple of my uncles, going down to Bo's place. I let them get a few minutes ahead of me, and then I snuck out my window, hopped on my bike, rode on down the road. Found me a nice little hiding spot. They normally gathered in the barn. So I was able to tuck myself away and find a place where I could just peek in. They were making their plans, talking about where she was. Somebody said she was at the motel down the road. They were going to go get her and bring her back to the barn, torture her, find out what she knows. Who sent her? Thomas Eugene Crawford. Somebody connected to him. And just as they're getting all juiced up, ready to go make their way into the night, I heard tapping on the barn door. I got that tingling in my ears. That door opened up, and there she was. And she was definitely glowing. Strange, phantom-like glow. Now, what I'm getting ready to tell you, you might think I'm making it up. Almost wish I hadn't witnessed any of it, but anyway, Sheriff approaches her, and I can kind of hear a little bit of what he's saying. And I know he's hurling insults at her. And they're creeping up around her, trying to surround her. And then I hear her laughing. And then she starts mumbling in this strange language. Something I never heard before in my life, but whatever it was putting me in a trance. It was putting the sheriff in a trance. He was struggling to move, but he was frozen in place. She walked right up onto him. I saw the glint of a blade in her hand. And in one quick motion, she swiped it across the sheriff's neck. I'd never seen blood shoot out from a man's neck like that. He turned around, clutching his throat, gasping. She raised her hand again and stabbed him right in the back of his head. You know what kind of power you have to stab someone through their skull. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I was scared, but I was frozen in place. I couldn't move. And when I looked at her, it wasn't the face of the beautiful woman I had seen earlier. It was the face of a monster. And she started getting taller before my very eyes. Her limbs got longer. Before I knew it, she was up to about 8 feet tall, towering over everybody. I know it sounds weird. I know, but I'm telling you, it's like she transformed into some kind of creature. Everybody in the barn started screaming and trying to get away. She moved so fast, like lightning. Grabbing this one, grabbing that one. There wasn't no getting away from it. Screams. Oh, they were screaming. There was blood everywhere. I could smell the blood in the air. She started, it started pulling their heads off their bodies. What, what kind of, what kind of, I don't even know. At that point, I just got up, I hopped on my bike. I pedaled so hard back home and I prayed to sweet baby Jesus that that thing didn't know I was there. I climbed back in that window, slammed it shut, got under my covers. When I woke up the next morning, I thought it was a nightmare. And I heard my mama crying in the living room, and I got up, walked to the hall, and I could hear the men talking about slaughter and blood, decapitation, 22 men slaughtered in that barn. My daddy, two of my uncles, Sheriff Bo, the owner of the restaurant. I didn't cry. I wasn't even upset. I knew they got what they deserved. Many years later, after I'd been gone from the town at about 12 years at that point, I had to go back and bury my mama. Wasn't very many people left in the town, so the service was real small, simple. It was a visitor come to the house after the service while I was packing everything up, getting ready to head back out. Beautiful black woman. Still looked the same as that day she came in the Patties. I thought, there's no way. Gotta be her daughter or something. There's no way. There she was right outside the door of the house, smiling. That beautiful smile. Same red lipstick, same outfit. I waved to her through the door. She waved back. She just turned around and started walking up the road, didn't kick up any dust or anything. By the time I got outside, she completely disappeared. I know what you're thinking. It's a made up story. I did some research. Some African deities. I couldn't pinpoint the exact one. But I'm pretty sure she was one of them. And that day, all them years ago, she came to avenge the blood of all those innocent people that had been spilled in my town. Now, I'm glad I never adopted my father's beliefs, his hatred. One thing I learned is that you could get away with a lot in this world, but you always pay for it in the spiritual one. Now, you could believe me or not, but I'm telling you what I saw with my own eyes. I've never shared that story with anyone. I always kept it to myself because I didn't want people to think I was crazy. But anybody who hears this, I want you to be aware that sometimes in them sundown towns, there's something much scarier than you lurking in the darkness. And that spirits really can seek revenge. Well, what have we learned, class? What have we learned from this story? Our ancestors are always looking out for us. I hope you have enjoyed Season 3, Episode 1 of Paranorleans. I'm your hostess, Fat Girl Freestyle. I'm looking forward to taking you on a very interesting ride this spooky season. You can expect a new episode of Paranorleans every Wednesday from now through the end of the year. If you would like to support my content, you can do so in quite a few ways. Make sure you are subscribed to the Fat Girl Freestyle channel on YouTube. These podcasts post not only to Spotify, but also to the Paranorleans playlist on YouTube. I have quite a bit of content over on the channel, so please make sure you are subscribed, share, and comment on the videos. You can also support this one-woman operation via monetary means. Fat Girl Freestyle on Venmo. Fat Girl Freestyle at gmail.com on Zelle and Apple Pay. If you want to have a story included on our podcast, and feel free to email fatgirlfreestyle at gmail.com. Once again, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you comment and share. Make sure you're following on Spotify. And as always, I'll see you next time.